It's Guess What Show You're Watching Wednesday. As you can see that I tried every possible opening we had until I got ours. So, but it's Amadeus and Jim. And Amadeus, it's Wednesday, my friend. And today, and I know that Amadeus probably has in front of him a number of hats, college hats. He's going to pick which hat he's going to commit to for the 2024 season before the show is over. So stay till the end because that's when we'll find out where Amadeus is going to land in 2024. So that's just, keeping you with us so you can find out where Amadeus is going. Crazy day. Signing day. Always a big day. It's a little less now because of the transfer portal.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen the transfer portal, change the landscape of college football.
Yeah.
And it used to be recruiting was the number one thing, and now not so much. Now it's let's see what the transfer portal's offering us before we start bringing in freshman recruits who still have to get the swing of things and won't even be starting right away.
Well, what we're also seeing is programs that feel like they're just on the cusp, right, of getting to the next level, deciding are we going to we lost a quarterback, are we going to allow our offense to be run by a freshman or a sophomore quarterback who hasn't been tested, or are we going to go out and grab ourselves one of these guys who are on the market that we think could fit our offensive scheme and keep us either at the level or take us to the next level. And so that's kind of a situation that what we're seeing is both running backs. It's most of these things in the transfer portal that I've seen anyway, and maybe you've seen otherwise. They're skill positions. They're not the linemen. They're not the defensive players, not for the most part. They're not the game changers on the defensive side of the ball, but they are. They definitely are the quarterbacks and the running backs and the wide receivers.
Yeah, definitely, and I think you touched on the reason there. The big thing with the transfer portal is you get players that are ready to play now, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to we got to recruit this guy. Yeah, he was great in high school, but he's not going to play right away. Or if he does play as a freshman, still got to learn the ropes.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of question marks. It doesn't matter how good you were in high school; it's
Mm-hmm.
still a big step from high school to college.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what you're getting in the transfer portal. You're getting good players and players that have already have been
Mm-hmm.
playing in college football and know how to do that. And as you said, you're getting the teams that are on the cusp, the ones that are ready to
Mm-hmm.
win now, trying to just fill out their roster with those pieces that they need.
Right. And you hit on this a few weeks ago. You called it free agency, and it's like free agency in football, right? You're a guy in the transfer portal. You now go and return and see some of the people that you might have seen when you were getting recruited. You might be moving back over and checking some of these people out, or you might be saying, well, you know what, that's not a bad situation. We got Cam Ward and DJ Uiagalelei, who are leaving the Pac-2 and looking for landing spots, and it looks as if most of them, those two, are going for the programs that are going to give them the best opportunity to win a national championship.
Yeah, and that's it's a perfect example as to why this is like free agency for college football, because you're getting these guys hop in the transfer portal, and basically it's up to them. Obviously, they
Mm-hmm.
have to draw interest, but yeah, the big guys like DJU and Cam Ward, they're getting interest from multiple schools. So then it becomes a matter of what's best for them. what offense, what NIL deals, even locationing. Are they going to be happy there? So
Mm-hmm.
all these other things come into play. And yeah, really, now you're getting it's like free agency where you have 5 or 6 schools in on the same guy, but it's up to the player. Where do they want to move? What's the best move for them?
Well, and to your point on that, uh, the DJ's top four schools. He's been to four. These are the only four he's looking at. Okay. He spent 3 days in Tallahassee with Florida State. He spent 48 hours uh, in Los Angeles, at USC. He spent an afternoon. Gives you an idea. How about this one? In Auburn. I don't that blows me away. I mean, that he went to Auburn. I don't know. Maybe they tried to recruit him. Now I know Mario Cristobal in Miami tried to recruit him out of high school, and he went back and saw Cristobal at Miami. So those are the four schools, and the only four schools that that DJ is looking at. Cam Ward also spent 2 days in at FSU. Spent 2 days at USC. Spent a day at in Oregon, and also a day, surprisingly, back in Los Angeles with Chip Kelly at UCLA. So my guess is one of those guys, either Cam or DJ, is going to go to USC, and the other's probably going to go to Florida State. That's just
Possibly.
a guess. It's just a guess.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the USC obviously, yeah, the 2-day trip for both players there.
Right.
Maybe it was really just a 1-day trip and a little extra
Right.
vacation time there on the
On the
West Coast.
beach.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I think the 3 days at Florida State definitely speaks volumes about how DJU liked it down there. Auburn is a little confusing.
Hmm.
It's got to do something with Hugh Freeze, right? It has to be
Yeah.
maybe Hugh Freeze recruited him, or maybe he likes the offense. Freeze
Right.
is running there, and he has already had a year to kind of establish that as the head coach. So could be one of those things, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Cam Ward seems like Oregon's not going to be getting. It's funny because before the Pac-12 championship, it was like
Right.
Dan Lanning was going to get the pick of his quarterback, and now after they lost, nobody wants to go to Oregon now, and not even Washington is in the uh, field of play. It seems.
Well, just in this, as we play out these scenarios with DJ and Cam, uh, if you're DJ, right, and you've been to those four schools we've mentioned, are you going to win a national championship at Auburn? You're going to go through Georgia, Alabama, Texas. Those are three that you have to get past to get there. Okay? Not to mention LSU ain't that bad either. So I'm not sure you could sell me on Auburn making a run. Now, Cristobal might be able to pitch him on the idea that you could win a championship at Miami. But given the fact that Florida State went undefeated and actually won, the conference championship, and you can argue, and they have, that they deserved an opportunity to be in the Final Four. Stepping into that deal might not be a bad operation, even better than USC.
Yeah, definitely. It has its positives, right? But at
Hmm.
this point, I mean, definitely better than Auburn. But as you just said, an undefeated ACC championship team couldn't get in the playoffs this year because of a quarterback, which, at the same time, I think is a huge smack to defense, just
Mm-hmm.
like a massive smack in the face to defense, which is what wins championships. But that's all. That's all we'll say about that. But yeah, it's very interesting, right? Because you could make that case for Miami, like Florida State couldn't even get to the playoffs. Yeah, there's going to be 12 teams now, but you're
Mm-hmm.
telling me you're going to get there over at Miami.
Yeah, I know that you're a big fan of Mario Cristobal. I say that with a tongue firmly planted in my cheek because you've many times mentioned that there's lacking there at with Mario Cristobal. I think that one of the more impressive things is that Mike Norvell at Florida State has been able to work the portal at the same time as doing a good job of recruiting, bringing players in. And to their credit, Florida State, he had problems the first couple of years, but they hung with them, and now they're finding out that wasn't such a bad idea. So, by the way, two kids who backed up Caleb Williams at USC entered the transfer portal because they are certain that somebody, is coming in to take that job, and it's not going to be them.
Yeah, I mean, what Kyle McCord did the same thing with Ohio State.
Yep.
The Ryan Day told him to his face, "Hey, we're gonna go out and try to get somebody better, but I encourage you to stay here and try and win the job." Like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay,
Good luck with
Ryan
that.
Day.
Yeah. I
And then you
thank you
wonder
very
why
much.
people call you a clown.
Right. I, I should have looked this guy's name up. This is terrible because I can't remember his name. The kid who was the quarterback this year at Kansas State did an
Oh, Will
outstanding.
Howard.
What?
Will Howard.
Will Howard. That's it. Will Howard. Don't sleep on Will Howard. I wouldn't be surprised if Will Howard aces either one of these two guys we talked about, Cam or DJ, out of that SC thing. I think it's possible that's who ends up at SC.
I actually did see his name as one of the bigger schools was looking at him. I forget
Mm-hmm.
which one it was though. I kind of glossed over it quickly, but yeah, I did see his name was in the running for one of those bigger schools. I think it was on the East Coast though. It was more
Okay.
so, or it might even be like the SEC on the eastern
Mm-hmm.
side. I'd have to check, but yeah, Will Howard definitely
I know that
he's
Will
a
Howard went
solid
to.
quarterback.
I know that Will Howard checked in at Tennessee. I know that. Um, you know, that's again, it's an offensive minded school. So yeah, so that one I know. But I don't know why I have a feeling because I know he visited SC, but I'm just saying that if he lands there, don't be surprised, even over Cam or DJ.
Yeah, definitely. I'm trying to see if maybe it was USC actually. It might have been USC. I see his name here.
Oh, with
Yeah,
SC.
the best solution for Caleb Williams' replacement. There's actually a few articles, so that might have been what I saw.
So they all right. So people are connecting with USC already.
Oh, apparently they already have him.
Well, then there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
He is. Yeah, Will Howard is the USC. This was 2 days ago.
This
It's
just in. Yeah.
been confirmed.
Okay.
Will Howard is going to be the new quarterback for USC next year.
Well, then Cam Ward and then I think then DJ probably is gonna. I, I would think that if USC's off the board, then that puts FSU in the top spot for probably either one of those guys.
Yeah, it seems most likely, especially since DJU spent 3 days there. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely can see him as the next Florida State quarterback.
I can honestly tell you, without fear of contradiction, that there literally is nothing else to do in Tallahassee if you are there for 3 days. So he spent 3 days on FSU's campus because I can tell you there ain't nothing else doing. I mean, if he spent 3 days down at Miami South Beach, I could understand. But you, there must be something going on between Mike Norville and DJ to keep him there for 3 days. Because that just you know, you'd mentioned if you go to LA, there's a lot of things to do, and you're right about that. I mean, he could have spent one day on campus, spent 2 days running around, just having a good time.
Well, that's what I'm
Uh,
thinking, right? Because like he spent 3 days there, 1 day everywhere else. Both guys spent 2 days at USC, and I know
right.
Southern California is very nice, just
Hmm.
aesthetically. So obviously,
It's not a
this
bad time of the year to be there either.
yeah.
So
So it seems like that was probably a 1 day on campus. 1 day, let me just
cruise
enjoy,
around town.
see how I'm gonna love my personal life if I come here.
Hmm. Now, there's one thing that Cam's father said that he will make a decision sometime before Christmas because he wants to get that out of the way. And one of the things that he said that is very important is that it's quite possible that he could enter, um, you know, file for the NFL. With this quarterback class, I think that would be a foolish mistake on his part.
Yeah, absolutely. We got guys. If you look at the mock drafts, there's like
Hmm.
most people only have 2 or 3 quarterbacks going in the first round, and like a lot of these names like Bo Nix and people like that
Right.
sliding down to the second round. And I guess it's just because it's not just the quarterback class that's loaded; it's the defensive players as
Yeah.
well. There's
Yeah.
there's a ton of
A lot of
solid.
edge rushers. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Linebackers. Yeah.
that's exactly what I was about to say. So
Yeah.
it took the words right out of my mouth. It's a big
Sorry, I
defensive.
didn't
No,
mean
no, it's
to.
okay. It's a big defensive class too, and
Yeah.
that's a big thing in the NFL, right? You need to. That's arguably your draft picks are more valuable used on defensive
Hmm.
starters than on a quarterback, because even if you draft a quarterback in the first round, half the time it's hit or miss. It's a big 50-50 if you waste that draft pick. Whereas if you bring in a guy like Miles Garrett or a Bosa,
Hmm.
you're getting a quality starter for the next five
Right.
years at least, who's ready to go
Hmm.
now.
And and over the past, I would say maybe 6 to 10 years, you started to see professional, the NFL drafters starting to lean on those guys and say, wait a minute, you know, uh, Clowney, for instance, when he came out of, South Carolina, it was a first round draft choice. There were guys who were edge rushers. I mean, not your traditional put your hand down in the dirt and bull rush in. We're talking about guys who had speed and could be game changers. They're there. Linebackers there. Defensive backs are there. There's seven that I counted. Seven quarterbacks that were considered franchise quarterbacks. That's more than I've seen in any draft recently in, I would say, the last 5 years.
Yeah, and according to some of these mock drafts I see, only
Hmm.
3 will be going in the first round. So
Hmm.
it's going to be a very interesting draft. I don't
Hmm.
normally watch the draft. I
Right.
just wait and see what the picks are, because you want to sit there for 10 minutes every pick. But this might be a draft I gotta watch, just because it's going to be very interesting to see where some of these guys go, who goes in the first round, who actually drops. Obviously, that's a long ways away. We still have to do the combine and all,
Hmm.
where we're just going to start measuring
Right.
people's hand sizes, and all of a sudden Mix is going to go down to the third round in the mock
Right.
drafts.
Because his tiny hands cannot hold the ball. Yeah, it was funny. Uh, Last year, the draft was in Kansas City, and my good friend Dennis Dodd, who covers college sports for CBS, he and I were texting during the draft, and 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 Dennis was just basically saying, "Can you believe this that they drafted this guy?" Or we were just kind of back and forth on on what was going on during the draft. It was early in the draft because Dennis actually had to interview these guys, so he had work to do. I just was sitting there watching. Um, but yeah, there was a lot of head scratching on some of the first round picks that came last year, but with 7 quarterbacks and a serious amount of defensive talent, I don't think there's any question that this wouldn't be the year for Cam to to step out and try to move into the NFL, because it wouldn't pay for him to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? If Cam Rising's going to play another year, then
Yep.
screw it. That's going to be your competition in the next draft class. So have
Yeah.
a better year than him.
Yeah. I mean, um, and there's and if you're DJ or you're Cam, right? And you plug in, and I'm not saying FSU's going to get either of them. God knows where they go, but if you plug into a team that is already built to win, your opportunity. I mean, look, FSU's not going to go 13-0 again and get knocked out. That's not going to happen. And
Not
I mean,
now with 12 teams.
no, no.
That would be
They're,
amazing if
that would be that. Then I would say, okay, go ahead, Senator Scott, go ahead and have your investigation. But I think that the amazing part about this, and here I'm going to go real quick to 24/7. 24/7 has their recruiting classes, and we're right now. I just refreshed, so this is the latest on today's drafting, recruiting class. Georgia has 28 commits, 4 5-star, 20, good God, 24-star players in the draft. I mean, not in the draft. In the I've got you on my mind here. You're in your draft. The in the commitments for signing day. The number 2 ranked team in this shouldn't surprise anybody. Alabama. They got 24 total commits. They got 3 schlepping off, 3 5-stars, 16 4-stars. Number 3 on your list is, that's right, the Florida State Seminoles. 22 commits, 2 5-star, 18 4-star. Your number 4 team, your Miami Hurricanes, 27 commits, 2 5-star, 14 4-star. And then we'll round out the top 5 with Texas, 21 commits, 4 5-stars, and 15 4-stars. So there's your top 5 as of the moment in the draft. And I think we talked about the skill players, right? And what's going on with the skill players. I think one of the things that we can that coaches will tell you, especially guys like Georgia and Alabama, they're going to out when you're recruiting. They're recruiting linemen. That's where the focus is. The focus is on the linemen. They'll get the skill players. Okay, that's something it's a priority, yes. But the truest priority is offensive and defensive line. because that's where you win football games, is in the trenches. I know it's cliche, but it is true. Just like you said, you win with defense, you do. But if you don't have a good offensive or defensive line, it's not going to help you. And so that's year in and year out. That's where Alabama and Georgia, stay up at the top of this list, and Ohio State and Michigan for that matter. They prioritize bringing in these linemen because they're not that easy to get.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a great example of that is the reason why Oregon was so dominant this year, right? It was the
Right.
line of scrimmage. They were dominating teams on the line of
Mm-hmm.
scrimmage. And now, obviously, Washington got the better of them twice. But
Right.
still, for a lot of those games, Oregon was looking like the best team in the country. And
Sure.
a lot of that just boiled down to, as you said,
Mm-hmm.
the guys on the line of scrimmage. Those were the
Mm-hmm.
guys that made Oregon the team they were this season.
Well, it gave them a balanced attack, right? I mean, you didn't have to worry about passing 45 times in a game.
Yeah, you're also
Yeah,
not getting your quarterback murdered on every play.
that's that's a very important point. Uh, you know, you know, I know that Lincoln Riley likes to get the ball out of the guy's hand fast, but not that fast.
We
So
don't need
yeah,
offensive linemen if you throw it in 2 seconds, right?
that's
two
right.
seconds or less.
Yeah, all they have to do is hold their block for 2 seconds and you're gone. So yeah, I think that's the balance, and that's why we talked about the D coordinator at Baltimore coming from. I'm sorry, the offensive coordinator coming from Baltimore, coming to Baltimore from Georgia. I mean, what does Georgia and Alabama do every year? They have running games. They have passers, yes, but they can get by with not the best quarterback because they got offensive lines that allow them to run the ball, and there's balance in that offense. So I think there's where those top four teams, and in fairness, I guess is what FSU's been doing, is paying off in dividends for them, and there's depth there. I mean, if we look at those 25 guys that Georgia has, you'll see that over, I think it's like a dozen. If last time I checked it, a dozen of those commits are offensive and defensive linemen, and some linebackers, and obviously then you get into skill positions, and you can use the term skill position on both sides of the ball. Offensive skill positions, we think quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, but the defense has the glamour positions as well, and usually those are the corners and the safeties and some of the linebackers, and occasionally, like you said, the edge rushers.
Yeah, definitely. And going back to what you said a minute or two ago with the running games on that
Hmm.
you see on Alabama and Georgia. It's not just the running game; they have great running games and great defenses. And
Hmm.
again, that starts at the defensive line, stopping the
Right.
other team's run game, getting pressure on the quarterback, and then everything else falls into place after that.
You know, um, not for nothing, there is something that Georgia and Alabama and some other schools, not just those, but those specific, because those are the guys who have. I mean, Kirby Smart was, you know, spent. I think it was 7 years, seven maybe. I'll say 7. 7 years as Nick Saban's defensive coordinator at Alabama. Saban's a defensive guy. What they did is actually was pretty smart. They took guys who would normally play safety, guys with speed, but were a little bigger. They bulked them up a bit. They're not, they're not 200. I mean, they're not 300 plus pounds. They're 245. They're solid, and they got speed. And if you're an edge rusher, which is what they've done with these guys, is they've taken these kids they've recruited and they built them into what a edge rusher would be. They don't have edge rushers in high school, so they've taken safeties and or potentially, linebackers with speed, and they've moved them into positions where they now are edge rushers.
Yeah, and that's actually something big that's evolved in the
Mm-hmm.
NFL over the last few years.
Sure.
That you're starting to see now when you look at an edge rushers used to just be like another form of a defensive tackle or a nose
Sure.
tackle, and now as you said, you look at an edge rusher and you can't guess that's their position, right?
Right.
They're more like a linebacker in body type, and so in some cases, even a safety wise, right? And
Right.
that's the thing. You're seeing a lot of these guys now. Just because you're an edge rusher doesn't mean you're rushing the quarterback. Sometimes some of
Right.
these guys are dropping back into coverage and stopping tight
Mm-hmm.
ends now. So that's
Right.
absolutely, I think, has been a big part of the way the NFL has evolved just with the edge rusher position in general, because it's not your
Mm-hmm.
traditional, big guy just trying to take down the court. No, you're getting guys with speed, agility now. They're doing, dance moves, spin moves, trying to get around the
Right.
offensive line. They're dropping back into coverage, and the quarterbacks are now like, the hell, Jadavian Clowney, what is he doing in coverage here? Getting an
Right.
interception on me. Like, what the hell
Right.
is this?
Yeah, I didn't see him.
Because you're not expecting it.
Right, of course. And to your point on that, there was a game a few weeks ago where they were talking about, well, the tight end wasn't getting any, where was the tight end? We expect them, and they said basically the edge rusher it was basically jamming him on the line. It's like, you're not getting past me. He was as
Yeah.
fast as the tight end. He was bigger than the tight end, or about the same size, and was basically, pancaking the guy. It's like, okay, try to get past me. It ain't
And
gonna happen.
that was the thing for years, right? Like some of these
Mm-hmm.
tight ends, like Gronk and all that. How are you supposed to tackle these guys? Who's going to cover Gronk? You got to
Right.
tie up two, sometimes even three guys on him.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
now teams have figured out, I can get an edge rusher, same body type.
Right.
He can bring him down. He can stop him at the line. He can keep up with them in speed.
Right. And like you said, now one of the things, it's a thing that's freaked me out because I'm not used to it. In college, whatever your number is, it can be okay. You can be an offensive lineman and be number 9 if you want to be. Okay, not that often happens, but it happens. But now in the NFL, they're allowing the players to take single numbers on defense, which they normally used to. The sevens, the 1 through 10 number was always assigned either to a quarterback or to a wide receiver, and not or to a kicker, and not to any other position. Now they wipe that off and say, look, whatever you can wear whatever you number you want, which is why we're seeing zeros in the NFL, and single digit edge rushers. I mean, I saw number 7 the other day going, where the hell did number 7 come from? And I realized that it was this kid that was his number in college, and when he got to the pros, he got to keep it. So you're seeing some very interesting, asides even to this whole thing about how the NFL is evolving and allowing. It's all about speed. If you can get there fast enough, and like you just said, I mean, an edge rusher keeping up with a wide receiver or a tight end, that's where it's all about.
Yeah, that's the thing with the NFL. It's evolving to help offenses,
Mm-hmm.
and so defenses are starting to become more like offenses to cover.
Yeah, you don't need that. I mean, you want that guy, that big, as the late John Madden used to call them, slobber knockers. You want those guys, you know, in the middle of the line to jam up and stop the running game. But I've even seen, some of these linemen who are 300 pounds, who's got, a little burst of speed, because you're only running 2 yards, okay? So it's not like you have to be that fast. but they're grabbing these guys and flinging them down, right at the line of scrimmage. So you're right. I think defenses are getting faster, they're getting bigger, and they're getting stronger. I never thought I'd see, a 360, 370, even close to 400-pound defensive line people, but now that's the interior of the NFL is that. So, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So there you go. All right. Well, we've pretty much wrapped up college signing day for the moment. Amadeus, where are you going? Where are you? What recruiting team? You don't have to pick a hat. Just tell me where you're headed. If you were a college player, okay, pick a position. What would you like to play in college? If you could play anywhere.
Let's see. Well, obviously, quarterback.
Okay.
That's where all the money is and
All
everything
right.
else. But I don't know. I think I would make a pretty good. I think I would make a pretty good linebacker.
Okay. Fair enough. So if you're a linebacker, where are you going to go play?
Well, obviously Washington because they're going to be the national champions.
Okay. Fair enough. They are this year, but we don't know about what's going on next year. If I were your counsel, I would suggest go to Kirby
Yeah,
Smart.
but I want to go to the defending national
Oh,
champions.
okay,
Come
fair
on.
enough, fair enough. Because I was gonna say if I'm advising you, knowing Kirby Smart, I would suggest go to Kirby Smart. He will make you better at whatever you do on defense. But look, they got good people out in Washington as well, so I wouldn't worry about that. Plus, you can play in the Big Ten, so that'll be an interesting thing. Little quick aside before we get to the important stuff here, which is Amadeus's picks. There is word that the Big Ten and Utah are having conversations before Utah enters the Big 12 because Utah doesn't want to be in the Big 12, but they have no choice at this particular moment as to whether or not they're going to be there. Um, and so, as they were one of the final teams to tank the pack, it's now become quite obvious that they have no interest in playing in the Big 12, which they may have to do if there isn't some movement on the Big Ten side. I can tell you from people I've gotten in touch with this morning about that from the Big Ten, they like Utah a lot, but the idea of onboarding 5 schools at one time is not something they're interested in.
Yeah. What do you think the reason is for Utah? Is it because BYU's in the Big 12, or is it just because the Big 12 is
Uh,
one giant watered down conference now?
I think it has to do with number one. I think it has to do with academics. Okay, there there's a thought, a school of thought that I mean, uh, as good as Utah was and has been over the past few years, what has been of great pride to them is that they have finished in the top 10 in graduation, in graduating their kids in football, okay? And not just football, but in all sports. They have been in the conference now 5 consecutive years where they have been just behind Stanford in graduation. That's pretty impressive of athletes, okay? So, you know, there's been all kinds. I'm not gonna. This is what others have said. I'm gonna preface it by saying I didn't say it, so don't attribute it to me. Um, they've called it the truck stop conference. It's been called, I'm not saying Utah did, but that's been one way of putting it. It's been the Andy of Mayberry conference. I mean, it's basically it's the conference where basically if you have it's a big now it's now a Big Four conference. It's a conference made up of schools that other conferences didn't want. Fairly or not fairly, that's what its perception is. That you go there if you have no other choice.
It's a little watered down now with the teams in it. So
Well, if they
just from
did
like from an athletic standpoint, I don't think the Big 12 in football is a very strong conference at
no
all.
basketball, they're monsters, but football, they're when Texas and Oklahoma leave, you got to say, I mean, you got to your boy at Arizona's got to be licking his chops.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, this is a Utah Arizona, you know, they could own this league for years.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. It's a very just that's I speak from the athletics point
Right.
and only football because I agree with you about the Big
Yeah.
12 being strong in basketball. Only football. Yeah, when you take Texas and Oklahoma, it's a weak conference. I don't think it's a very good conference. And frankly, if we're gonna get rid of the Pac-12, I'm with you. It might just be the Big Three now, the Power
Yeah.
Three, because the Big 12 it does not have a lot of solid football schools in it
Right.
left.
Well, and
It
don't
does
argue.
feel
Yeah.
like the leftovers.
And I've argued for months, literally, with people. The Big 12 is not better than the ACC in college football. They're just not.
No.
Because at the top, you still have FSU, you still have Clemson, you still have North Carolina. Duke is on the cusp. Please tell me who who in the Big 12 is a school you would fear playing. There's nobody there. You take Texas, Oklahoma off the
The
board. I
Kansases
don't.
now.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, fair enough.
That's it.
Off and on Baylor sometimes, I guess. Shout out to my Baylor friends. Right now, I guess I would fear Arizona, to be
Yeah.
honest. You know, and certainly Utah with Cam Rising coming back. I don't know how healthy he'll be, but I hope he's healthy. He's a good kid, and I think what's his 27th year that he's playing college football. He'll retire after this. But yeah, Cam Rising at Utah, they do. Utah does an outstanding job of recruiting. They truly do. And so I would say Arizona and Utah are the football powers in that, as you well put it, pretty much watered down conference. So anyway, since we don't have to worry about them for a while, tell us what's going on tonight and tomorrow or whenever your picks are for today.
Yeah, so make sure you check out my premium plays at bigowl.com, at picadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off a 3-3 day, wasn't a great day on the pitch. Lost my 2 EFL Cup, but I'm gonna bounce back on the pitch today. I got a League 1 play for 3 o'clock that you can still go get. I'm also have a NBA Southeast Game of the Month that you can get. I did not win my Southwest Game of the Month last night, but I did win the non-conference Game of the Month the day before, and I'm still on a 24-4 NBA run. So looking to bounce back there, and I'm having a great college basketball season. I'm on a 66-41 run right now.
Wow.
And I'm coming off a 3-0 night. So yeah, you can get my one college basketball play for the night. I also have a second NBA play that you can get. That's not the Southeast Game of the Month. So yeah, make sure you check out. It's a big basketball night, but not much for anything else.
We should make note of this so that you all know this. This is Wednesday, okay? Amadeus and I are going to be here through the weekend. I mean, through the week to Friday. So we'll set you up for the weekend. But you're on your own next week, okay? Because it's holiday period and spending time with family. So we'll be back on the 26th or 27th, Amadeus. When will you be back so we can tell everybody so they don't you can still get your information online, right? When you're gone.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
I'm still gonna be posting plays
Okay.
next week. But yeah, as for shows, I won't be able to
Right.
do this one, and I won't be doing any shows for the Insiders Room
Mm-hmm.
either. So yeah, next week, pretty much the entire week. So I would say I'm back. I guess in January, it
Okay.
would be January 1st. So.
Okay. Well, I just want to make sure that everybody knows where that they can still find your picks, but that we are going to be, off until, till just before the big bowl games.
Yeah, definitely the picks won't be stopping. Got to pay
Hmm.
the bills still, but
Yeah.
that's what these bets do, Jim. They pay the
Yep.
bills. But yeah, as for shows, you won't be seeing my lovely face anywhere next week. But we'll be back on January 1st for sure.
Well, 2024 is going to be a good year to cash tickets too. So we just wanted to let everybody know that. So if you're looking for us next week, good luck. You can see the best of, but you can check us both out on our social media, and obviously Amadeus' stuff will be you know bookmark those links in the description box so you can keep track of all that. But we will wish you all a lovely holiday come Friday, when we will have plenty of action because we have a very odd schedule of games on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday next week. So it's kind of an odd situation. So it is what it is, right? So we'll make it work. All right, everybody, have a great day, and we will see you come tomorrow around 2 o'clock. Okay, take care, everybody.